when my Purvashrama father's house was being made, he was still working. So 2-3 days he sent me during the day to look after the construction, the masons are working and all. The third day the mason reported to my father that इस बच्चा को मत भेजिए, वो कुछ नहीं देखता है, वो चारपाई में लेटे हुए खाली किताब पढ़ते रहता है. The mason complained that I am not supervising him. See the fun of it. And I was really so, I was mostly reading Feynman lectures on physics. So at that time I was deep inside the great bliss that was giving me that Feynman lectures in physics. Because that there was a time I had already completed my school examination. I was about to get admitted in Calcutta, so there was a 3-month period vacant. That was the time I am talking about. So I was deep in studies of Feynman lectures. So that was my experience with the construction. I detested construction like anything. And when I entered, Swamiji said that, आगे तो कुछ कंस्ट्रक्शन करेंगे. क्या करेंगे? उस समय कंस्ट्रक्शन चालू हुई और 27 years have passed. At least up to 25 years I have done only construction. Last 2 years I said that I am not able to do, and because of the physical health and all, I am now relieved. So we don't look at the construction. Some buildings are not properly done also. We accept everything, that perfection is not there. We have transcended that. So this is what it is. Why did I say all these things? So that when we are only studying, meditating, contemplating, you will reach a state where it will be very blissful height of Sattva Guna. But when you are put into the interactions, then you have to fight with the mason, you have to fight with the contractor. Sometimes you may have to put up a case against the contractor also. Everything you have to do, but you cannot lose your anchor or the awareness in the divinity. So the whole sadhana got changed. When I went to the ashram, the sadhana became to transcend the likes and dislikes. Previously it was not there. Whatever I like, I was doing. I like to read the Shastras. I was reading the Shastras. The people who do not match with, who are not harmonious with us, will never come to our house. Only those who are harmonious, interested in spirituality would come to our house generally. So automatic selection procedure is there as long as we are in the household. But in an ashram there is no selection. Anybody can come up and jump on your shoulder. You cannot hate anybody. So to go beyond the likes and dislikes is the greatest purity. Without interactions it cannot be. So he says that karma jyayo hi akarmanaha, because only when we are involved in activity we come to know where the mind is still having constrictions, where I am clinging to some likes and hating certain disliked things. Our preference and prejudice towards people, some people we like, for him we will cook better things, some people we dislike, for them we will neglect. In the ashram also it can happen. In so many ways, not only one or two, in so many ways it acts. Even while speaking also, if you are aware of the situation, you will find that in the mind how this preference, prejudice is working. Just in speaking. Even after renouncing the world also, you will find a sadhak speaking to somebody. In that you can make out that still the mind is looking for some appreciation, some friendship from some people who are visiting. For a renounced sadhak, it will be there. So immediately if he is very attentive, he will look into the mind and find out, why am I looking for this? Am I still craving some social position, some appreciation from people? I am still craving. Suppose somebody is meditating, and in meditation one day you attain a blissful state. So again and again you will think that today also I will have a blissful state. Next day also you will think, if I can get that bliss again, you will try to get that bliss. It doesn't come generally. Whenever you are trying, it will not come. But you go on trying till you become fed up. So the question is that previously you were looking for some enjoyment in the worldly things. Now you have left the world. Left means worldliness you have left. You are come as a sadhak. There also you are looking for happiness in meditation when the world is not there. There also you are looking for happiness still, that carrot is still there in a refined form. In a very refined internal form, the carrot is still working there. You are looking for something different from you, wherefrom the bliss will come. So this bhoga pravritti, in our shastras it is called bhoga pravritti, bhogecha or bhoga pravritti, that a tendency to enjoy. One has to finally get over this tendency to enjoy. Otherwise that non-dual position will not come. The transcendental position will not come. This bhogecha one has to get over. So even a person who is practicing meditation, he has to be careful about meditation also. That is also a karma in a way, in a subtle karma. Say, he is not interactive outside, but meditation he is doing. That is also a karma for him. And there also he is, phalakangsha is there, that bliss I am wanting in meditation. Can you relate? There also we are looking for bliss at the end of meditation. That is the karma phala. You cannot look for that also. This tendency to enjoy has to be treated. So he says that that is why doing karma is better than not doing karma. Because in Karma Yoga of Bhagavad Gita, the activities are used as instrument towards liberation. If you throw away the instrument, then this Karma Yoga cannot be performed at all. How will you get liberated? The activities have to be, the attitude while doing the actions have to be transformed in such a manner that these activities will bring you the purity necessary, the expansion necessary, everything. So activity is better than non-activity, remaining non-active. He says that even Sharira Yatra, for maintaining our body also we have to be active. So why are we so reluctant about activity? Some activity you have to do. Then he introduces the great concept of Jajna in Bhagavad Gita. It's a very great concept where a social dimension is there, the civilizational dimension is there. Because I will just introduce that Jajna in the Vedas, in Karma Kandas, Jajnas are done with the idea of having the karma phala, that is Jajna phala. That people have desire, by doing this Jajna, I will attain this, either otherworldly or this worldly, whatever. I will have some children, or I will go to the Swarga after the body falls. These are the desires given. So normally Jajna means it is a desireful activity. Whereas Bhagavad Gita, what they have done is that he has explained the Jajna in an universal sense and made the Jajna, performing a Jajna means surrendering the phala, just the reverse of the karma kanda. That the karma becomes Jajna when you have taken away the carrot of happiness at the end. The karma phala you are not thinking, not the objective karma phala, then no karma can be done. The subjective phala, that I will become happy by ultimately getting the result. When you surrendered that, that actually means the surrendering your selfishness, surrendering your ego. So through that surrender, when any action is done with this sense of surrender, then the activity itself becomes Jajna. And he takes it to that universal dimension that the whole universe is a Jajna of the Supreme Lord. You can call it Atma, Brahman or Bhagavan or whatever. The whole universe is a Jajna of the Supreme Lord. Because here, what all things are happening, there is no desire behind that. The earth is going around the sun, the moon is going around the earth, the galaxies are getting born, galaxies are getting destroyed. So many things are happening, it's unimaginable. They don't have any desire. It is just, suppose it was desireful activity, then they would soon become tired. That will one day say that I have been running for millions of years. Today, for 1 second, let me take rest. क्या होगा? पूरा खत्म हो जाएगा. It will fall immediately to the sun. They don't never question. Now, any desireful activity, people become tired. This is the secret of a knower's activity. How can he work so much? Because it is not desireful. In the gross level also, you find our all eyes, ears, everything become tired when they are too much given to indulgence in the sense activity, sensory activities. But what about the prana, the life force? It never gets tired. As when you are born and when you die, entire period, has prana ever stopped its function? Then you will die that moment. Because the prana is selfless. It is helping the eyes to see, it is helping the ears to hear, it is helping everything to live. So it never gets tired at all. It is not desireful activity, it is not selfish. Any selfish, eyes are selfish, why? Because it wants to enjoy the vision. Ears, it wants to enjoy the sound. So all indriyas are selfish. To make them also jajna, what we do is, those attachment to the sensory things we try to renounce. That is why in our puja and all we establish Vishnu everywhere, you know that. On the eyes, on the ears, all the indriyas we establish Vishnu. Vishnu means what? Vishnu, the word means Vyapnoti iti Vishnu. That means what is all pervading. Vishnu means Atma. It means Paramatma. It means Brahman. It is not the four-handed and two-legged Vishnu. That is only to attract our, because we like to see beautiful people. So God is also appearing in a beautiful nature. The real Vishnu is all pervading. He cannot be seen at all. It's the reality, all pervading reality. So by establishing Vishnu means what? It is called achamana. When we take food, then wash our mouth. By that what happens? Whatever uchishta was sticking, that is cleared. Like that whenever we do some bhoga, something we enjoy, the uchishta sticks to that indriya. ओ रसगुल्ला एक बार खाया ना, टेस्ट लगा हुआ है, फिर से रसगुल्ला खाने का मन करेगा. Whatever the indriya indulgence is there, whatever we enjoy, the taste will be there in that. Are you not able to understand? So that taste, if we can surrender, if we remove that taste, that is what we do by this achamana with the Vishnu mantra or so. That we remove that, so it becomes free of any preconditioning, free of all the desires. So before taking food, we have to utter the Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi. By that, what are we doing? Brahman means Vishnu, that is. So we are establishing, we are making everything that all-pervading reality. That the whatever I am eating is the all-pervading reality. The action of eating is all-pervading reality. I am taking, I am the Brahman. The food is Brahman. The taking food is Brahman. Everything is Brahman. If you do it with the meaning, what will happen? The mind will be relieved from all constrictions. It will become infinite. So all the little likes, dislikes about food, everything, that will go. And then you take whatever is good for the health. Then what happens is that by this jajna, by this surrendering the smallness, the selfishness, the bhogecha, when we surrender, then what happens? The sattva guna increases in us. In 14th chapter I had explained it very well. I am saying I have explained it very well. None of you remembers perhaps. There it is that 11th verse. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyat vivriddham sattvamityuta. He is saying that when the whole being, our body, mind, intelligence, personality, when the sattva guna is in predominant position, it is ruling our being, then what happens here he has said, that we are extreme sattvic, that sattva guna is on the rule, not the raja guna, all will be there, always three gunas will be there, but the ruling is with the sattva guna has enhanced. In that case, sarvadvareshu dehesmin, asmin dehe sarvadvareshu prakasha upajayate, jnanam prakasha upajayate. That sarvadvara means the indriyas, dvara means door, that means that indriyas of our body, all the indriyas, there a brilliance comes, prakasha, and jnanam, knowledge comes to the indriyas. How? It is. It so happens. Seeing the food, you will know whether it is harmful or not. You will know what is the guna of the food, that will it be nourishing me or it has some impurity in it. The sattva guna is, we have, the animals know, why the human beings do not know. The animals can just smell and take the proper food. Only we are fooled because of this attachment, and with the buddhi we spoil the food and then take. Generally we don't take the natural food. We, with our buddhi, we spoil and then take. And we become the guinea pigs for the multinational agricultural companies like Monsanto and all. पहले वो लोग लगा देंगे क्या, बीटी ब्रिंजल या जेनेटिकली मॉडिफाइड सब लगा दिया पहले. जब वो सारे दुनिया में फैल गया, बहुत पैसा कमा लिया, then they will start saying organic, organic, organic. So you get back to your old cows, deshi cows eating deshi grass and prepare ghee out of it and sell it at 5,000 rupees a kilo. Everybody will buy. Now people have money, they will go for organic. See how fools we are. And there the money makers are making us fools every day. Spoiling everything and then again retrieving back, trying to. It cannot be fully done. Their children also will be spoiled. The people who designed this, their children also will take the same thing. They will also suffer. But they don't understand that. They only understand money because they are slave to the money. This is what happens. So, sarvadvareshu prakasha upajayate jnanam yada. That sattvaguna, when it increases, we are able to know many things. We see many things. See, looking at a person, you will know that mind of the person. How do you know? It is only sattvaguna, nothing else. Sattvaguna spreads everywhere, makes the buddhi spread everywhere. Because you are not constricted at that time. Sattvaguna, the knowledge, sattva knowledge is said, 18th chapter, 20th verse. Chapter 18, 20th verse. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayamikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajnanam vidhi satvikam. That jnana is called sattvika jnana. What is that jnana? Sarva bhuteshu yena ekam avyayam bhavam ikshate. Be attentive to the words. Ekam, that means one. Sarva bhuteshu ekam. In the bahutva, in the multiplicity, infinite variety, one. Ekam. Avyayam bhavam ikshate. Avyayam means which never changes. The one which never changes. Avyayam bhavam. That means the prakasha or the existence which never changes but which is in all the changeful things, multiple variety. And what does it do? Ikshate. Ikshana is not seeing with the indriyas, with the eyes. Ikshana is the vision of the buddhi, inner vision. That is, you will never see that everything is appearing on the consciousness. But to the buddhi, where the revelation is taking place, there it will be revealed that the whole thing is an appearance in my consciousness. So when he is interacting with the multiplicity also, he is not becoming forgetful or unaware of the reality that it's all the appearance on my Atma, which I like so much. Always I fondly say I, where I, not to be used also we use I. I have seen people saying, my son, not our son. Particularly ladies. My son. Arre, it is our son. Why do you say my son? So much is the love for the I and mine. So that I is the substratum of the entire universe. Sarva bhuteshu jena ekam avyayam bhavam ikshate. That is an ikshana of the buddhi, from inner vision. Abhibhaktam vibhakteshu. This is all fragmented world. Everything is fragmented, different. But in that he finds that this differential vision is only an appearance in that unity. the unity in diversity. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu tad jnanam viddhi satvikam. So sattvika knowledge is, sattva guna is by nature, it always reveals the oneness in multiplicity, the unity in diversity. So if you are very sattvic, you will be able to resolve the quarrel of many people. It is so. In a managerial level, you can use it. That you will find that you are able to understand everybody, what is the truth in A's voice and what is the truth in C's voice, and you can balance out the things very well. That is the sattva guna property. If you are rajasic, no, I have said this, it has to be listened to, otherwise I will go. That is the rajasika tendency. तामसिका वो कुछ भी बोले नहीं बोले सोते ही रहता है. वो क्या बोलेंगे, कुछ आता ही नहीं उनके दिल में, मोह. So sattva guna is this. Why did I speak about the sattva guna? That when that increases, all the indriyas, they become brilliant. So you come to know what is to be taken, what is not to be taken. I came to this from the Brahmarpanam Brahmavi. The before food, if we chant it with the proper meaning, with the proper bhava, going into it, you will find that you can understand what you are taking and what you should take and what you should not take. So, jajna means this surrendering the selfishness, surrendering the constrictions, so that you become universal. The whole universe is a jajna of the Lord, in which my body, mind, personality is also a small speck. So whatever I am doing in this world as a separate individual is also part of the jajna of the universal Lord. As the flowers are blossoming with their own qualities, some are red, some are blue, some are white. As the plants are growing every day with newer and newer leaves, just because it is their nature to grow. Like that, we have our body, our mind, our intelligence, our self-will also, and to analyze all these faculties we have. With that, we will blossom like a flower. Each flower will be different. We can never compare one with the other. The white flower, small grass flower, is as beautiful as the big rose. We may like the big rose because our aim is always on grabbing things. We like the big American beauty. But a small grass flower is no less beautiful than that. Like that, whatever qualities each person has, he blossoms with that quality, his svabhava karma, his svabhava guna. With that he blossoms like a flower. So we are all part of this jajna of the universal Lord, where whatever we are doing, we are contributing to that jajna, that universal jajna. This is the concept of jajna in Bhagavad Gita, not with a desireful offering of material in the fire. But it has come from there. When we offer some solid in the fire, what happens is that it becomes vapor. As a solid, it is constricted, it is fragmented. When it becomes vapor, it gets mixed and it goes everywhere. So jajna also, you will have the feeling, the moment you can implement the jajna concept in your work, you will feel there is an expansion of the mind, that as if I am spreading everywhere, I have become light, I have become spatial. So jajna is another concept which can be fully utilized in this karma yoga, where every moment, if you can transform, if you can implement this jajna, you will become like space, spatial in your mind. This is what is going to be the next section. I will take it up sloka by sloka and then I will deal with some questions. How many we can do? Whichever is relevant to what we are discussing, I will discuss. The others I will not discuss now. What is the difference between Sushupti state and Samadhi state? This I discussed in the morning, but I can again say. See, in Sushupti, all the faculties are, Sushupti means deep sleep. We have wakefulness, we have dream state, we have sleep, deep sleep state. That is called Sushupti. In the wakeful, our body, mind, everything is functional, active. In the dream state, the bodily parts, karmendriyas are not, gyanendriyas are not functional, but the mind is still active. Swapna, the mind is still active. And the internal organs are also active because the vision, sound, everything is there in dream, whatever we have in the wakeful state. So the outer gross indriyas are not functioning, but the inner subtle indriyas are all functioning. Because unless the cortex that, suppose I see this thing, microphone, there is an electrical signal in the visual cortex. So when in dream we are dreaming a microphone, same signal can be, I am sure about it, let the scientists find out. The same signal will be there in the visual cortex. So that is the inner indriya we talk about. In the Shastras they speak about the subtle indriyas. This is the subtle indriya we have. So they are active in the dream state. In Sushupti, neither the mind nor the indriyas, everything is sleeping. So there is no signal coming at that time, even in the internal indriyas also, there is no signal.